In a small town, it's not the loud ones you watch. It's the quiet ones. The ones who stay late, who show up early, who never raise their voice because they never have to. In Mill Creek, Indiana, that was Coach David Ross. David had been at Mill Creek High for 9 years. He wasn't born in town, but he fit in fast. Married young, had 2 kids, built a reputation as the kind of man who fixed things without being asked. Broken lockers, fatherless boys, fights in the locker room. He handled it all. He'd served in the Army before teaching, never talked about it much. But when he did, it was always about discipline, about how emotions get soldiers killed. He wasn't cruel, he was precise. He believed in control, above all else. Once, after a playoff loss, he made the entire team run suicides in freezing rain until 2 boys threw up on the 40-yard line. When asked why, he said, "Pain is temporary. Sloppiness is forever." The school board thought it was tough love. Some parents called it abuse. David called it leadership. His wife Claire had a softness that balanced him, a school nurse. The kind of woman who remembered birthdays, gave out Band-Aids and hugs like they came from the same drawer. But even she admitted, David had 2 faces. One the town knew, and one no one else was ever supposed to see. Emma Wright had her own duality. To the world, she was everything a small-town girl was supposed to be. Beautiful, driven, respectful. She had a GPA that made guidance counselors weep with joy, and a smile that disarmed even the most jaded adults. But she also had ambition. Not the kind that waits for doors to open, but the kind that knocks them down. In freshman year, when a boy on the basketball team cornered her in the hallway and made a joke about her trying out for varsity knees, she didn't report him. She waited 3 weeks, then hacked his Instagram, posted screenshots of every DM he'd sent to underage girls, and sent them to the school anonymously. The boy was expelled. Emma never mentioned it again, but she kept the screenshots in a locked folder on her phone titled, "In Case I Die." Emma's dad left when she was 5. Her mother worked 2 jobs. By 13, Emma was babysitting other kids for gas money. By 16, she knew how to read people like books, especially men. She didn't chase attention. She studied it. She learned what made someone lean in, what made them hesitate, what made them weak. She saw the way Coach Ross looked at her in junior year. She didn't flirt, not at first, but she smiled longer, laughed softer, stayed after practice when everyone else left. She wasn't stupid. She knew what she was doing, but she never expected it to go so far. David noticed her, sure, but he didn't act. Not right away. But something about Emma bothered him. Her confidence, her self-control. She reminded him of someone he once knew in Iraq, a woman named Ruiz who could disarm bombs with shaking hands and never blink. One night, in the fall of senior year, Emma found a note in her locker. Neat handwriting. No name. It said, "Discipline is forever. I see you." She never showed anyone the note. She just folded it, kept it. And the next day, she stayed after practice again. They hadn't touched. They hadn't spoken about it. But something had begun, and like most things that start in silence, it would end in screams. It didn't start with a kiss. It started with a door. Coach Ross had stayed late after practice. It was just past 6:30. Most of the team had gone home. The janitor was making his rounds on the lower level. Emma knocked on his office door. "Forgot my backpack," she said, casual. Confident. He didn't answer right away. He just opened the door, stepped aside, and let her walk in. That was the moment it changed. Because that time, he locked the door behind her. It was subtle at first. A hand on the back during a critique, lingering eye contact, shared silence that hummed with things unsaid. He told himself he was being careful, that it wasn't that kind of situation. But Emma knew. She knew exactly how far she could push before he pulled back. And eventually, he stopped pulling back. It happened on a rainy Thursday. No one was at school, half day for teacher conferences. Emma stayed behind to work on choreography. Ross came into the gym. They talked about the team, about her grades, about how tired she looked. "I haven't been sleeping," she said. "Too much on my mind." "You should take better care of yourself," he said. "Maybe someone else should," she replied, meeting his eyes. He didn't kiss her. She kissed him. After that, it spiraled fast. Quick encounters in his office between periods, late-night texts from burner apps, weekends volunteering for out-of-town tournaments. Coach Ross would book a second hotel room in case the boys needed extra space. But he and Emma knew better. She started calling him Sir. He called her Pet. There were rules. No lipstick, no perfume, no eye contact in the halls. If anyone asked, she was just staying late to help organize equipment. It was clean, precise, methodical. But obsession doesn't follow rules. By spring, it wasn't just lust. Emma was leaving class early to meet him in the parking lot. She was skipping cheer meetings, lying to her mother, cutting off friends. And David, he was unraveling. He'd started tracking her Instagram, asking who she was texting, telling her what not to wear to school. "If people knew what I know," he'd whisper, "they'd never look at you the same again." She'd laugh, but inside, she was scared. Because what had started as a game was now something she couldn't control. There were close calls. Once, Emma forgot to lock the door behind them during an after-hours study session. A junior janitor walked in and saw her sitting on Ross's lap, laughing. The janitor froze. Emma slid off, pulled her hoodie up, and calmly said, "Can we help you?" The boy nodded, face red, and walked out without a word. They paid him $500 the next day to stay quiet. He did. Another time, Coach Ross's wife, Claire, found a red scrunchie under the passenger seat of his car. He said it was from a player's younger sister, claimed he was giving her a ride after practice. Claire didn't believe him. She started asking questions. Emma panicked, told Ross they should stop. "I'm not built for this," she said. "It was fun, but I can't." His reply? "You don't get to leave me." That was the moment it stopped being an affair and started being a trap. Some affairs burn out, others get buried. But this one? It calcified into something colder than either of them expected. After months of secrecy, Emma was suffocating. She was missing practices, falling behind in AP Calc, and constantly paranoid that her mother, or worse, the school board, would find out. She started pulling back. No more texts at night. No more meetings in the equipment room. No more Sir and Pet. And Coach Ross? He didn't take it well. He started showing up outside her house. Once, he sat in his car for 2 hours down the block while she babysat her neighbor's twins. Another time, she spotted him parked outside the Starbucks where she studied. She confronted him. "You're stalking me," she hissed one afternoon after practice. "I'm protecting you," he replied. "From who?" "From yourself," he said. "You don't know what kind of trouble you'd be in if this ever got out." Emma went quiet. Because that was the thing. He wasn't wrong. If anyone found out, she wouldn't be seen as a victim. She'd be called a seductress, a liar, a girl who asked for it. And Coach Ross knew that. He counted on it. What Emma didn't know was that David had already started building an exit strategy, not for himself, For her, he started collecting her things. A spare cheer uniform she left in the locker room, a scrunchie, a flash drive with her debate team notes. He created a folder on his laptop titled Contingency. Inside were dozens of photos, screenshots of their texts, hotel receipts, notes he'd written about her manipulation. He was building a story, one where she wasn't his lover, but his blackmailer. Where he was the victim. April 3rd was the last time they were seen together. A gas station just off Route 9. Emma in the passenger seat of his black SUV, looking tense, arms folded. The clerk said they didn't buy anything, just parked, talked, then drove off. 3 days later, Emma didn't show up to school. At first, no one panicked. Seniors skipped sometimes, college apps, burnout, mental health days, but then she missed cheer practice. And when Jada texted her, the message didn't go through. Emma's mom called the school. The school called the police. An official missing persons report was filed by 7:13 p.m. Coach Ross was interviewed by detectives at 9:05 that night. He was calm, cooperative. Said Emma had seemed stressed lately. Suggested maybe she'd run away. "She ever talked to you about leaving town?" one officer asked. "A few times," Ross said. "Said she felt trapped here." The officer nodded, but something felt off. Ross didn't ask a single question about where she might be, or if she was okay. The next morning, students organized a search party. They checked the trails behind the baseball fields, the old bleachers near the back fence, and that's where they found her. Emma's body was wrapped in a tarp, tucked beneath the lowest bench. She was barefoot. Her cheer jacket was zipped up. Her phone and jewelry were missing, but her school ID was still in her pocket. The autopsy confirmed it. Strangulation. No defensive wounds, no signs of struggle. She'd been caught off guard. Likely knew her killer. Likely trusted them. By the time detectives returned to question Ross again, he'd lawyered up. But it was too late. They had surveillance footage of him buying rope and duct tape at a hardware store 2 nights earlier. They had tire tracks matching his SUV. They had a folder labeled Contingency on a thumb drive found in his desk drawer. They had motive, method, obsession. And now, they had a body. Coach David Ross was arrested at 6:02 p.m. in the school parking lot. He didn't resist. He didn't speak. He just looked at the officers like he was finally relieved. Mill Creek High never reopened that spring. The halls were silent, lockers untouched, the trophy case still full. But the light inside it flickered. Emma's death changed everything. For students, it shattered the illusion that adults always protect. For parents, it ignited a fury they couldn't contain. And for teachers, it was a reminder that sometimes the monster isn't outside the building. It's in the front office, wearing a whistle. The trial began 6 months later. Coach David Ross faced charges of first-degree murder, abuse of a minor in a position of authority, obstruction, and tampering with evidence. He pleaded not guilty. Said Emma had been extorting him. Said she'd threatened to ruin his life. Said she lured him into the relationship, then snapped when he tried to end it. She said, "If she couldn't have me, no one could," he told the court. But the evidence said otherwise. The prosecution played the security footage, showed the receipts, the messages, the folder named Contingency. They brought in Emma's friend Jada to testify. Jada stood with trembling hands and told the jury she wanted out. She said he wouldn't let go. Emma's mother couldn't speak at first, not for weeks, but when she finally took the stand, the room fell silent. "He didn't just kill my daughter," she said, voice breaking. "He planned it, coldly, slowly, like she was a threat to erase, not a girl to protect. The jury deliberated for just 5 hours, guilty on all counts. David Ross was sentenced to life without parole. He showed no emotion as the verdict was read. No tears, no apologies. Just a long stare into the crowd, as if searching for someone who'd understand. Some stories don't end with a twist. They end with a scream no one hears until it's too late. Emma thought she could control the situation. Ross thought he owned it. And in between those two delusions, a young girl lost her life. Because when obsession wears a respectable face, people look the other way, until they can't anymore. Thank you for watching. If this story hit you, if it made you feel something, take a second to like this video. It helps us bring more stories like this to life. And if you want more true crime narratives that don't just tell what happened, but why it mattered, subscribe, share it, talk about it. Remember Emma. Because stories like this don't just live in courtrooms, they live in classrooms, locker rooms, small towns. They live anywhere silence is mistaken for safety.